Thank you for joining us for Barnstorm Dance Fest 2020 Digital Edition. I'm Molly Haven-Miller, Executive Director of DanceSource Houston. On behalf of our board, staff, and all of the featured artists, we are so grateful for your participation in this year's on-screen festival. I encourage you to watch all 3 programs showcasing works by 17 dance makers from Houston, the region, and beyond. Programs A and B include documented live works, and Program C features all dance for camera works. Follow along with our suggested program order or choose your own adventure and curate your own lineup. Each link in the program listing will take you directly to the video of each choreographer or company's Vimeo, YouTube, or Google Drive link. Follow us on Facebook to see artist chats to get more insight on works presented on all 3 programs, as well as live stream classes led by festival choreographers. Join the conversation in our festival Facebook event and engage with choreographers, performers, and fellow audience members. Barnstorm Dance Fest is funded in part by Houston Endowment, Texas Commission of the Arts, and the City of Houston through Houston Arts Alliance. A huge thank you goes out to my DSH teammates, Brittany Bass and jhon Stronks, who helped make Barnstorm possible. We look forward to when it is safe to come together and enjoy dance in shared space again. Thank you so much for joining us in this format for Barnstorm Dance Fest 2020.
Hey y'all, welcome to Barnstorm Dance Fest's digital dance chat series. My name is John. I am the programs manager for DanceSource Houston, and today I am talking with Joel Aguilera, one of 3 DanceSource Houston artists in residence for our 2019-2020 residency. Joel's studio time was hosted by Hunter Dance Center, so before I get started with Joel, on behalf of DanceSource Houston, I would like to say thank you to Hunter Dance Center for their continued support and partnership. Joel, are you there?
I'm here. Hello.
Hi, Joel. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I am good. Thank you for joining me. I want to say, first of all, it has been a pleasure to work with you this residency season. I hope you've had a challenging time as well as a good time. And I'm anxious to hear more about your experience. So go ahead and give us a reflection of your residency time with whatever it is that is present on your mind.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. And I would also like to say thanks to Hunter Dance Center. I very much enjoyed having that space to work in. There's something about just like that setting that made it very easy to work in, and all my dancers loved it, so big thank you to them. I would say going into the residency, I had a vague idea of what I was going for. Overall, I was trying to tie things that just meant a lot to me and art that I was familiar with. So I was trying to essentially tie in Latin jazz music, breaking movement, and modern movement. And I knew going into it, and we've also had discussions about this, about how to specify what I'm really trying to tie in. And I was using this residency to figure that out, because I knew what I was going for, and I wanted more specifics, more details, and not only to talk about it more specifically, but just like as I'm working on it, I have a better sense of my outcome. So over the course of the residency, I definitely did a lot of research, which was like my biggest intention, because I had worked with all 3 before, but I had not done enough research on it, and I knew that. So going into it, anytime I had like some free time at work, I was literally just like reading and reading and reading, which is not sorry if you could hear my dog playing with its dog toy in the background. But basically, like the way it can I pause for a second and give him a different toy?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
Welcome to Planet Zoom, everyone.
Okay, I'm back. I gave him a tennis ball that'll keep him distracted. So as I was saying, I had done a lot of research over the residency, and the general outcome that I came with was I found a lot of similarities when it came to Latin jazz and breaking, and also breaking movement with modern movement. So those were like my biggest 2 outcomes when it came to research. As for Latin jazz, it goes all the way back to African percussive rhythms, and jazz music, and the connection between the 2 that like really made like Latin jazz a thing. Mario Bauza, who played a huge role in making Latin jazz happen, went to New York, and he ended up bringing his brother-in-law named Machito. And they essentially created a big band called Machito and the Afro-Cubans. So they were creating this new wave of jazz music where they were using these percussive rhythms, and this just changed and really created this new wave of Latin jazz music. This is what I grew up listening to, and it plays a big role in my life. So I knew that this is what I wanted to use, and also I felt like it was a form of music that is not used often when it came to dancing, because when you're listening to it, it goes all over the place, and creating movement to that just seems so interesting to me. They also has a deep, rich history in Bronx, New York, which is also where breaking started. So finding that connection and that similarity was pretty crazy to me, and just like figuring out that they're way closer than I thought. And then when it came to the movement side, I was pulling from like different modern techniques. It was just so vague. I knew this from majoring in dance at U of H, and I would just pull from different things that I knew, but I wanted to specify more in that as well. Mm-hmm. Over the course of like looking at different modern pioneers, I just kept referencing to Jose Limon technique, because I just found so many similarities. Jose Limon has a lot of fall and recovery, which I felt like was just so used so often in breaking. When it came to momentum, we would often go down to the ground so that we came back up, and that's how we gained speed. And also not so much moving from point A to point B, but moving through point A to point B. And just that idea of flow and that whole concept was something that I very much used when I was creating the movement for my work. So after doing all that research and finally being in the studio and using all of that time, it just felt much easier to find the similarities, because I already knew they were there, and I knew how they were there, and I knew the history behind it. So it really worked out, because now at the end of the residency, I got what I was looking for, which was a better understanding of what I'm trying to blend and how I'm trying to blend it, and the similarities between them all. So that's kind of what I came out with. The end of my residency is that everything is just so closely related. And it's just really worked out for me, because I feel like I have my new style and my form of contemporary art. So I'm really looking forward to everybody seeing it. I created a 21-minute work, and we broke it down into 5 minutes and made it into a dance film. So that is what we've come out with, but we do have every intention of showing that 21-minute work in the future, whether it be with another festival or a show of my own. So look out for that. Soon enough, we'll put that out there.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, I'm really happy for you that you were able to dive into those research spaces and find those connections. It's really great to hear. Do you have any sort of reflections on maybe how the residency itself either helped facilitate your trajectory to this, or were there spaces, structures within the residency that created challenges for you?
Yeah, so I'd love to touch on that. The residency very much helped and guided me to this end result, because we would have multiple meetings monthly about where we are in the process, and getting to talk and have dialogue about like how to research and what we're looking for, and just like talking about what we know, what we're looking at, what we're trying to get, and also having fieldwork sessions where we'd meet once a month we could show anything. We could show a costume, we could show movement, we could show a song that we're interested in, and getting people's point of view and what they were feeling when they were looking at that. So I made sure to always come with something prepared, whether it's just a couple moves, a short combo, a lengthy phrase. I always wanted to show something when I was at that fieldwork session to get multiple points of view, so that helped a lot. Obviously, the residency provided a lot of resources to me, whether it was those fieldwork sessions, meetings, or even the studio space, which was great at Hunter. That helped so much, and I took full advantage of that resource. Studio space, especially when it's provided, does not come often, and I did everything I could to use as much hours as I could. So I definitely used a lot of it even before everything changed after COVID, and not being able to use that space. I was blessed to have as much time as I could in that studio, and my dancers and I, we worked really hard with that time that we used. So obviously with those resources from the residency helped a lot when it came to creating that work. And I don't know if it would be possible to create without the residency, but if it was, it would have taken a much longer time to get to that point.
So you mentioned that so you had finished all 21 minutes, was it, of this piece before before shop closed due to the coronavirus? Is that correct?
Yeah. So we had started rehearsal, I believe, the second weekend of December. We only had like 2 because then it's Christmas break and a lot of holidays. Mm-hmm. So we had about 2 rehearsals, just kind of like start, break off, and get kind of situated on the idea, and then starting like first weekend of January all the way through mid-March, every single week we had rehearsal, whether it was once a week or twice a week. Each rehearsal is about 2 to 3 hours, and if we had a 2-hour rehearsal, I was spending 4 hours earlier that week to make sure that when we had those 2 hours, we knew what we were working on. I knew what I was teaching. I knew what I was assigning, and having the great dancers that I had, shout out to all of them. They worked really well, and we were coming up with stuff like right away. So we went in guns blazing. And yeah, we finished the 21-minute work right before spring break.
Okay.
Which was essentially like right before things went on lockdown. So we finished it. We never had time to like really clean it or tweak it, but we had the general 21 minutes finished. Yeah.
So what was the process of taking that 21 minutes and distilling it down to, what is it, a 5-minute camera dance?
Yeah. So
what was that process like?
I definitely, like when I first found out that Barnstorm was moving digitally, I knew that, at least for me as a viewer, watching dance online for so long, I tend to like kind of like phase out. So I knew that even though I really enjoyed what we had made, that 21-minute work, I wanted to cut it down. And the 21-minute work is actually broken down into 4 sections, and there are 4 songs. So I took one that I felt like best showcased that Latin jazz genre, and it was my favorite song out of the 4. So we took that song, we took that section, we tweaked it a little bit and added a couple either moves from different pieces or just like the vibes that I felt like were giving off from other sections, and we try to wrap it up within those 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. So essentially we took that first 5-minute section of the piece. So when you watch it, you kind of get an idea of what that first section of the 21-minute work is, just with a couple added bonuses to it.
Fascinating. Did you find that challenge of sort of like distilling and or just sort of deciding what part of the conversation you were going to present for this digital format? Did you notice sort of an evolution of anything new? Like, did something else reveal itself through this form that wouldn't have necessarily been present in the live work? Or do you feel like it has had an impact, like the process of making that, has that impacted the way that you'll take the work forward?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it for sure has. I think like, obviously when I made the piece, it was made for stage. Mm-hmm. And I never once in those months that I was working on the piece did I think about this being on film. So that definitely changed up how I was looking at it. I had to now look at it with angles and how did I want to shoot this? Obviously we had a certain venue and there's only one way to make it work. We had to shoot from this facing or this facing, and having to like kind of adapt and change that up for film made me rethink about it on stage, because now I figured, oh, I actually like it from this side better, or I like this angle, or this would make it look more 3-dimensional. So I do think that when we revisit it for the stage, that I'll have a different kind of interpretation for it and vision overall.
Fantastic. Are there any other lingering thoughts out there with regard to either the festival, the work that you've created, your collaborators that you want to touch on?
I would like to say thank you to everyone who had worked on it with me. I did work with Soumya Gupta and Reese Moffett when it came to filming the project, and Soumya also helped me edit it. And of course, my beautiful dancers who were there for me and took my piece to another level. So big shout out to all of them. Big shout out to Dancesaurus and Hunter for helping make all of this possible.